rising number of COVID cases in China. Now, if you talk about the increasing number of cases in China, the Chinese authorities are seriously considering imposing a lockdown in Beijing, as confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the country's capital topped 100 on Wednesday. But after a much criticized month-long lockdown in Shanghai, such an option could have a very high economic and political cost. At least 113 people have been infected with COVID-19 in China's capital, health authorities announced on Wednesday, and the pressure is growing on local officials to contain infection. Some 1,300 kilometers away in China's largest city, Shanghai, a strict lockdown has already been imposed on the population for the past month in an attempt to stem the spread of the highly contagious Omicron variant. To discuss more about this, Mr. Praful Bakshi, what do you think, considering the seriousness of the lockdown that is being imposed? Are the cases really at the number that China is suggesting?
Tell you the truth, China is in full control of the situation when it has to deal with its own interest. Please let me tell you that this is a biological aspect and this has been developed in China because Japan introduced it in 1933 and thereafter it was weaponized. Weaponization of these biological aspects is a very old thing started by Western powers. It is historical, all right, but before First World War, Second World War, biological substances were being used by the Allied powers, by Russia, by Flanders, by France and England. Every country used it. So China is also using it. Now these experiments which have come up, China tries to suffer. The previous COVID also started like this. Again, something is starting. China's, this number which you are asking may be a hidden figure. There may be some more. What China actually does is very difficult to ascertain. But our good news is that Indian pharma industry and Indian research in this field is so powerful that we are quite capable of arresting the spread which is coming up. Though until and unless we get prepared and we prepare ourselves and get ready for it, because China has got its own way of administration. The way they administer, it's not very clear. So we will not understand it. But all other powers in the world must be now geared up. And besides thinking on Ford and etc., we must also join up jointly with other countries to curtail this menace. We must have one authoritative program involving all countries, even including Quad countries. They can also make it a human issue. It's not a military issue or a strategic issue. It has to be done because we must work together on this, because this is going to play mayhem into humanity if this succeeds. So my submission would be that India, Japan, all other countries must now also pool in their resources and thinking along with Western powers and try to curtail this phenomena which is coming up. This should also become a policy matter. It must go into a policy that these are the methods which can be employed by our opponents and opposing country as a weapon. It's not biological weapon. I am again restating, is a way of warfare, though banned by Geneva Conventions, yet practiced by people. So we have to be very careful about it.
All right. Now, if we talk about the global economic and political impact that will be seen on the world, Mr. Sanjeev, what do you have to say on this? Because a lockdown in one place is also likely to have global ramifications.
Well, one thing is very clear that China's zero COVID policy has not got desired success. And it has caused enormous amount of difficulties for the residents of Shanghai. I think it might have a similar kind of impact on the residents of Beijing as well. And I think China should reconsider the way it is practicing its so-called zero COVID policy. Obviously, it is not zero COVID. The number of cases are constantly rising. be it in Shanghai, be it in Beijing and other places. So I think the Chinese zero COVID policy is a failure, and it has caused enormous amount of sufferings and a kind of a strict lockdown, a very kind of a barbaric treatment Chinese authority has been doing to the residents of Shanghai, and now they are doing it in Beijing. I think they should reconsider. The resentment among the masses in China is very much growing. Obviously, they cannot express their opinions. Wherever they are attempting to express their opinion, they are being shut up by the Chinese authorities through various barbaric means. So I think this shows the kind of governance, a very authoritarian governance model China practices. As we all know, the China is an authoritarian country. It does not respect the basic human rights of its own citizens. So I think this is causing enormous amount of trouble for the people of China, and I think that will certainly cause a lot of resentment, and this resentment is going to grow. China's way of handling corona pandemic should be reconsidered, and I think the entire world is watching what's happening in Shanghai, what's going to happen in Beijing, and the number of cases are obviously rising. China has not been able to contain those cases despite having this so-called zero COVID policy. So in that regard, I think, but certainly as you asked, that this kind of enormous, very restricted lockdown situation will cause enormous amount of impact on Chinese economy, China's engagement with the world as far as the trade is concerned, and obviously this will negatively impact the Chinese economy too.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.